On this epic episode of MythBusters,
Go, baby!
Adam and Jamie go Newton Cradle crazy
Even these 2.5-inch balls are making me giggle.
as they find out if this viral video is wrecking ball baloney. From big beginnings to a colossal conclusion.
Looks beautiful.
But will their mother of all Newton's cradles really work?
World's largest Newton cradle. And 3, 2, 1.
Also toying with big machines are Carrie, Grant, and Tori as they test a cliffhanger of a myth.
I've had nightmares like this.
If your car is teetering over a gorge,
With even a breeze, that car's gonna go over.
can a bird landing on the hood really cause you to totter over the edge?
Don't make any sudden move.
Who are the MythBusters? Adam Savage
It's a delicious memory.
and Jamie Heineman.
When in doubt, C4.
Between them, more than 30 years of special effects experience. Together with Tori Belleci,
Well, the name is science.
Grant Imahara, and Carrie Byron.
This should be fun.
They don't just tell the myths, they put them to the test.
What are you doing?
An equation.
Go on.
Does one of these plus one of these equal this?
It's a simple equation taken from this viral video. Take 5 cranes and 5 wrecking balls, and you've got a desktop toy taken to the max. But is it really possible to supersize a Newton's cradle?
A wrecking ball sized Newton cradle. That is fantastic.
Ain't it sweet? It's my favorite.
How do you want to proceed?
Well, we all know where this is going to end up, and it's going to be with full-sized wrecking balls.
And that is going to be a huge build.
Well, since this is all about scaling the Newton's cradle effect, there's no need to go stampeding towards the full-on wrecking balls. Why don't we do it gradually?
You mean incrementally bumping up the size of our Newton cradles?
Exactly, and see if we can tease out any kind of problems dealing with the increase in scale.
That sounds perfect. Let's do it.
Okay.
So after the first of many cheap gags,
You need to stop playing with your balls and get back to work.
Adam set sail on small scale.
Now, the Newton cradle is effectively an instant lesson in energy transfer. And energy transfer is the soul of this story, for when we bring this up to full-scale wrecking balls, the biggest problem we could encounter is that the energy transfer doesn't work, that when we lift ball 1 of the wrecking balls, it does not send ball 5 like you'd expect a Newton cradle to work. So how are we gonna know how we're doing as we scale this up incrementally? This is how. I will pull ball 1 up to this block, which is the exact same distance from ball 1 as this block is from ball 5. I release ball 1, it sends ball 5 a certain distance that I can measure and compare against our subsequent Newton cradles.
It's a simple but short-lived setup.
All right.
So let's see it again. In slow motion, Adam releases ball 1, and in a clear demonstration of this cradle's efficiency, ball 5 almost kisses the blue block.
What'd you get?
The energy transfer was surprisingly clean. Ball 5 traveled 98% the distance that ball 1 did.
Wow, only 2% loss after one hit.
Yeah,
Why don't we take it up a notch? Next size up.
absolutely. Let's do it.
At 98%, the office toy is impressively efficient. But can a bigger cradle beat this benchmark?
Now I've got to make one of these with 5 of these. Now clearly all I have to do is attach some string to this, but that's no mean feat. I don't know if you've ever tried to drill into a chrome steel bearing, but I have, and it sucks. So I'm gonna have to machine a solution to solidly hold on to these and turn them into a Newton cradle.
Using 2.5-inch ball bearings is no walk in the park. But hats off to Adam, because he's got a solution.
Last one. Now this little aluminum hat here is how I'm gonna hold on to this steel ball, but how, you ask? They don't seem to match up very well. Well, I'm gonna cut a concavity into this aluminum hat that matches the sphericity of this ball. With what? With a tool I haven't actually used in about 15 years. It's called a radius cutter. And what it does is you set it up to cut an exact curve, and it will cut into my little hats a perfect 2.5-inch diameter curve that'll allow me to glue these hats to these balls with a tremendous amount of surface area.
And with that complete, a quick montage later, and Newton 2.5 is ready to roll. And roll it does.
It's not easy being me sometimes.
But after a quick restring,
Shall we try it out?
it's got Adam dancing with excitement.
Oh, that's cool.
And while both he and Jamie get particularly pleased at something a little low-key,
Isn't that nice?
it's definitely a build to be proud of.
It's funny, even these 2.5-inch balls are making me giggle. I love it. But in my mind's eye, I'm already seeing the larger and larger ones that we're going to be building, and it's going to be hilarious.
But before that hilarity, it's time for scale test 2.
2.5-inch ball Newton cradle in 3, 2, 1. Let's check it out on high speed.
Like last time, Adam releases ball 1 before measuring where ball 5 maxes out. And the results are very encouraging.
Come on, come on, come on,
It
come on,
looks
come on,
like
come
it's
on.
going to touch.
It's 3/8 away, which is 3%, which means it's pretty freaking efficient. The desktop model, the ball went 98% of the original distance. This is 97% of the original distance. It's scaling beautifully.
In our first test, ball 5 moved 98% as far as ball 1 did. That's a 2% loss in that exchange. When we moved up to 2.5-inch balls, we had a 3% loss. That's only 1% of difference. But here's the thing. The 2.5-inch balls are about 3 times the diameter of the 1-inch balls, but they're 23 times the mass. So a 1% difference, it's not very much.
And what that means is that going ludicrously large, like the myth, may just yet work. Next up, a cliffhanger of a myth.
All right, so I have a classic physics meets Hollywood myth.
All right, let's hear it.
So a car goes skidding off the road and is about to go over a cliff when it's saved by stopping precariously at the edge. It's perfectly balanced, but a little bird comes and lands on the hood, dink, and the whole car goes crashing off the cliff.
A little bird causing the car to go over the cliff? Look, I'm skeptical, but you know what? Sounds like a good test.
It's a favorite in many a scriptwriter's handbook. But if a car comes to a standstill on the very edge of a cliff, can an inquisitive bird be enough to tip the balance?
All right, so obviously we're gonna have to balance a car on the edge of a cliff.
Why don't we build our own cliff? That way we know it can hold the weight of a car, and if we go over, we won't get killed.
Good idea.
And then for the fun part, getting a bird to land on the hood. I don't think that's gonna be as easy as we think.
No, I think balancing the car is gonna be the easy part.
So with tipping over a real cliff ruled out for obvious reasons, at the bomb range, the MythBusters are going to build their own.
I think we mean business. We got a lot of work.
Luckily, we have the big tools today.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's move some earth. What we got here is a front loader.
Big toys for big boys.
This thing is very powerful. It's got to move a lot of weight.
Let's see what I can break with this.
Which we are going to be doing. We're going to be moving a lot of earth to get our slope up to our cliff.
Not better than playing with big machinery.
Although it may look a little bit precarious,
No!
the goal here is to build a solid cliff edge courtesy of a shipping container,
Enter one portable cliff.
which a car can then be balanced on.
It's taking a while.
Well, it took Mother Nature like hundreds of thousands of years, so really, we're right on schedule.
Beyond the cliff edge, they're making a sloping escape ramp, which should make a survivable descent when the car tips over a little more likely.
It may look like we've been out here all day playing. I mean, I've been up and down this ramp probably about 100 times, but there's a very good reason. And that reason is we're gonna be in the car that goes off this container and down that ramp. So we want this thing to be perfect.
And Grant better hope 100 times was enough, because with the Cliff car delivered and pimped,
Just in case there was any confusion, who was pushing a car off a cliff out in the middle of the bomb range?
it's all systems go for the pre-bird testing. Finding out the precise balance point of the car.
We built our cliff with a container and a ramp.
Oh, what could possibly go wrong?
We put our car on top that's incremented by 6 inches so we can see just where the teetering point is.
Well, the car could crash. It could maybe catch on fire.
We're gonna inch forward, get it just that balance point,
I didn't really want the answer to that.
and then they're gonna lean forward and go down the hill. Hopefully successfully. But if not, God, I wonder what Jet Li and Johnny Depp are doing.
Really?
Okay, you guys ready?
No.
Finding the tipping point in 3, 2, 1.
Guess you're just gonna ease forward, right? Oh, man.
Tori's first task is to carefully drop the front wheels over the edge.
Okay, slow, you're about to get the tire off.
You can make it. I've had nightmares like this. Ugh.
And once there, the balance point test can begin. But it's a delicate operation.
Okay, slowly, slowly.
Ah!
Little less on the accelerator.
Too little throttle, and they won't budge.
Okay, we're not tipping yet.
Too much, and they'll flip over the cliff without finding the tipping point.
We got no more traction on the back wheels.
And that was too much.
Holy crap, that was scary. It was like 1 second we were on the edge, and then boom, we were off. I think we need to do that again.
I think so.
Good news and bad news. Our safety ramp worked. We were able to get the car to go off the cliff and land safely, and we didn't die. Bad news is, though, I hit the gas too hard, and instead of finding that teetering point, we just went off the cliff. So we don't know exactly where that tipping point is yet. We're gonna do the test again to find that. This is gonna be fun.
Is this crazy construction site's viral video really real? Or is this myth headed to the wrecking yard? Well, so far, it's so good.
I love it.
Because scaling up the Newton Cradle with bigger ball bearings appears to be working.
It's scaling beautifully.
But now it's time to go bigger again.
Next up, we're going to go to a 6-inch diameter ball bearing. This is 33 pounds, and that means that it's 323 times as massive as these little ones.
Like the 2.5-inch version, it's Adam who's in charge of the build.
Another day, another Newton Cradle stand.
From the stand, that this time is more heavily reinforced,
Nice rack.
to the ball securing system.
Oh, yes. Wow, that's heavy.
It's an intricate fabrication that is soon ready for a trial run. First impressions are good.
This is 160 pounds of Newton Cradle right here.
The ball bounce back seems solid.
Oh my God, the energy is just massive.
And Jamie's giggling with excitement.
I've been obsessing about this story ever since I first came across it. But now that it's here, I'm finding it difficult to describe how much fun it is. So the only thing I could come up with was to just show you. The little balls, bigger balls, and really big balls. Need I say anything more?
Actually, yes, Jamie. How about you give us a countdown to the efficiency test?
3, 2, 1.
Nice. That was a good clean one. Shall we check out the high speed?
Yep.
All right, Jamie. Ball 5 went to 94.1% of the distance of ball 1.
Yeah, that's an additional 3% loss.
I'm still feeling pretty good about this thing.
Yeah, still working. So is increasing the mass causing us a problem? Well, we are seeing an increase in losses the more we scale these balls up. But here's the thing, it's not proportionate. These balls are over 200 times the mass of the original small balls on the toy, and yet we're only seeing a total of about a 6% loss. It's not very much.
Although there is drop-off with increasing size, it's so slight that the bigger cradles still work as hoped. And that means that full scale may not be so far-fetched. Provided, of course, that real wrecking balls perform the same as ball bearings.
I watch this thing go and I have one thought. Our full-scale wrecking ball Newton cradle, it's gotta work. Dude, this thing's great. What do we do next?
I think it's time for us to go check out a full-size wrecking ball.
Awesome! I was hoping you'd say that.
To find out if a bird can tip a car over a cliff, the MythBusters first need to find their car's balance point, which is proving harder than expected.
Hey, you guys are safe.
We're alive.
Bad news is that was a little too Thelma and Louise, so we have to put you back up there.
All right. Yeah.
I didn't think you'd disagree.
Yeah.
After a somewhat epic but really fun failure, we decided to change our methods. We actually put the car back into place, and now we're going to inch that car forward.
So with the car engine off,
Okay, we're ready.
All right, begin the tipping point test.
the forklift will instead gently ease it forwards.
Okay, stop.
But will it have the required control?
Right about 5.5 feet. How's it feel?
There's no tipping.
Okay, give him just another tiny little nudge.
Well, so much for Plan B, because like Plan A, the cars tipped too soon. And without finding that tipping point, they can't bring on the birds.
All right, Plan C. We're actually gonna use a strap this time so that if we go too far off the edge, we can pull the car back to the tipping point. Hope this one works.
With resets taking too long,
Can't tell you how many times I get myself into these situations.
the guys are hoping that the strap system will let them find the balance point a little more quickly.
Get a little bump. Give him your angry inch.
But as it turns out, it still takes an entire afternoon of pushing and shoving
All right, now pull it back to 5.5. I'll tell you when to stop.
before they think they've cracked it.
Grant, we are at the point of no return.
After a lot of tinkering and a lot of trial and error, we have found the exact tipping point.
I feel like we're gonna go at any second.
I think at this point, with even a breeze, that car's gonna go over.
Don't make any sudden moves.
So now when the guys start to sway and move their weight, I think they're gonna go over the edge.
Ready? Let's do it together. 1, 2, 3.
Finally, they've hit pay dirt.
Okay, I think we found our teetering point.
Wobbling at the 6.5-foot mark, the car was so finely balanced that a slight lean from Grant and Tori was enough to send it over the edge. But could a landing bird also tip that balance?
Now, it took us a long time to get our car to that perfect balance point, but after seeing how easy the car went over the edge, I think if a bird were to land on the front end of a car, we're definitely going over.
Well, in that case, let's unleash the beasts. In Wrecking Ball Baloney,
I'm confused.
Adam and Jamie's shop tests using giant ball bearings have been a hit,
I don't get tired of that sound. This is what everyone will be wanting for Christmas this year.
which means it's time to go full scale. Where the first thing on their shopping list is 5 identical wrecking balls, which, somewhat unexpectedly, turns out to be impossible. But all is not lost.
There is nobody who has 5 identical wrecking balls.
Well, you know what that means.
I think I do.
We're gonna have to build our own.
How do you want to do it?
Big steel balls filled with concrete?
That could work. Shall we try it in scale first?
Sure.
All right. So our full-size wrecking balls need to be identical for two reasons. First, it's because that's what you see in the video. But second, and more importantly, their mass needs to be identical because that gives us the best energy transfer possible. Not only their mass, but also their surfaces have to be as round as we can get them. So we've got to make our own, and we're going to use the building blocks of real wrecking balls, steel and concrete. Before we go to full scale, we're going to try a scale experiment with the simplest arrangement of this possible, a steel sphere filled with concrete. So I have sourced some 6-inch hollow steel balls. I'm going to drill a hole in them and fill them with ceramically hard plaster that matches the compressive strength of concrete. I'm going to build a Newton cradle out of that, and it really ought to give us a good guide as to the viability of our concept for the large-scale one.
And once the filling's hardened, everything's set to see if they work.
Here we go. Uh-oh. Hey, Jamie, you better come take a look at this.
What's up?
Check this out.
Doesn't last very long.
Clearly, we're going to have to come up with something other than just filling our wrecking balls with concrete.
Yeah, that's kind of dead. This is just what I was afraid of. These mild steel balls are filled with an ultra-hard gypsum-based product, but they're still not passing enough energy through to do the job we want. They're absorbing it somehow. So what we need to do now is find out how much.
6-inch composite-filled balls in 3, 2, 1. And that's just a sad noise. Well, let's check it out.
Remember, the 6-inch ball bearings were 94% efficient. How will these compare?
63%. We went from 98, 97, 94 to 63.
That's a big drop-off.
It's not only a big drop-off, it doesn't last. It's not a Newton cradle.
Nope.
Personally, I'm bummed. Now I know that when you look at the high-speed shot here, it looks like the energy transfer you expect from a Newton cradle is actually happening. Ball 1 goes down, ball 5 comes up. But here's the thing that makes a Newton cradle awesome. The energy transfer continues. Tick, tick, tick. What I'm getting from this isn't tick, tick, tick. It's tick, tick. And everyone seems to want to go home. I don't know what we're going to do.
With real wrecking balls unavailable and the most simple do-it-yourself design falling flat, what this myth needs is a brainstorm.
So, giant Newton cradle. How do you want to do it?
Well, we've got this problem, right? This is going to be probably 20 feet high. I mean, we can't forge these solid steel.
Yeah.
There's just no way we can, I mean...
And yet we can't have just a big sphere that we fill with something like concrete.
It's a slow start, so let's speed things up. Their goal is to design a wrecking ball stand-in that transfers energy better than their earlier effort. But after an hour, all they've come up with is the shape.
I think something round, something that looks like the quintessential wrecking ball that you expect to see.
They really are going round in circles.
We can't just take something and fill it with sand or anything. We need the energy transfer across the center.
Until Jamie gets a bolt from the blue.
Oh, I know. All you need is a plate to go right through the middle. And then we get some metal spheres and weld them top and bottom, then fill the rest with rebar and concrete.
Don't they make buoys that are made of steel?
Yeah, that's the ticket.
Then we get one of those, we put the plate in the middle, we end up with something where it's a solid steel transfer from ball to ball, but no one could look at them and say, that's not a wrecking ball.
Like that.
That is perfect.
I think we've got a plan.
Let's do it.
Eureka! They've cracked it. But for the rest of us, here's a graphic. They're going to take a 28-inch naval buoy and cut it in half. Across the center, they'll weld a 3-inch thick hardened steel plate that should be able to transfer the energy of the swing. Inside the buoy, they'll add rebar and concrete, just like some old-fashioned wrecking balls. That leaves two questions. With 5 in a row, will it work? And can they build them? Well, with the delivery of buoys, the guys get that ball rolling.
These things are going to get cut in half, and then we're going to weld the plates right down the middle. This thing's going to be the center of our wrecking balls. It's a 3-inch thick piece of specially hardened steel that we've chosen because it's going to be the contact point from ball to ball. And because it's really hard, hopefully it's going to transfer the energy just like the Newton's Cradle does. We're also going to weld structural stuff that we need onto it, like a bunch of reinforcing bars, and the rest of this space will be filled with concrete.
It's definitely an all-hands-on-deck type build, even if a couple of those hands get distracted. But once Adam and Jamie chime back in, their fearsome spheres, a kind of hybrid of real wrecking balls and giant ball bearings, take shape fast.
And off we go.
And while the concrete fill starts chaotically,
Slow down. Stop.
it's not long before the team
Don, I need you to get the vibrator ready.
has this part of the build in the can.
Oh, messier than I thought.
Isn't that the title of your autobiography? Lovely. Look at that.
And after 2 weeks to cure, plus a quick paint job, they're all set. But will they actually work?
After a couple of weeks' work, this is either 10,000 pounds of awesome or 10,000 pounds of failure.
A precariously balanced car is no laughing matter. But can a landing bird really send you over the edge?
So we're back at the bomb range. Now, it took a really long time to get our car perfectly balanced on our cliff. But now that we've done it, it's time to bring in some birds. We have our expert Jim coming in to use progressively bigger and bigger birds. Should be really interesting today.
Wrangler Jim Tigan, last seen trying to beat the speed camera,
Awesome!
has come equipped with a whole bounty of birds.
Really? Right there?
But will any of them cause their perfectly poised car to plummet?
So essentially, this myth is all about leverage. Now, imagine that this block is the cliff, and this break is the car, and this rock is the bird. Because of leverage, out here at the edge, a small bird can land there and cause the giant car to go over just like this.
That's the theory. But will Bird 1, a classic yet humble pigeon, provide enough leverage?
My prediction, I just don't think that's going to be enough to send the car over. I know you're cute, but I don't think you're going to do it.
All right, so now we're gonna start testing with the birds, but we're gonna test it a little bit differently this time. We're still gonna put the car on the edge of the cliff, right where it's bouncing, just ready to fall over.
Should have paid more attention to the sides. Cliff ahead.
But this time we're gonna tether the car, so that way if it does go off the cliff by the weight of the bird, it doesn't go down the hill. Because let's face it, we don't wanna hurt these birds. We don't care about ourselves, we just don't wanna hurt the bird.
With Grant and Tori sitting anxiously in the hot seats of their balancing car,
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Okay.
Come on, wrangle them birds.
Jim flips the birds. And
Okay, the birds are in place.
Yep, and we haven't gone over the edge.
there's not a hint of tippage. But to be sure, the guys shoo the birds down the hood.
Go away, go away. Shoo, shoo, go. Get out of here, go. Don't you have a park to poop on?
Because the further they are from the fulcrum, the greater the chance of a tip.
2 pigeons, not happening.
Nope, we are not going over the edge.
Ain't that the truth? The 2 pounds of pigeon is just not enough to cause their balanced car to tilt up and over. Which means,
Think it's time for a bigger bird.
cue bird number 2, a male Harris hawk called Murray. And it's no surprise that the man who is scared of fish isn't a big fan of the falcon.
Stand up. Relax. I'm relaxed. Doing this migration. I'm totally relaxed, man.
You don't have to worry too much about the beak. It's really the talons. And those talons will go right through an organ like the heart or the lung or the spleen. Grip in, hold super tight, and the animal will bleed out and perish.
After a pep talk like that, it's no wonder that Grant retreats to the safety of a car balanced on a cliff edge.
We are right on the edge.
Meanwhile, Carrie's not confident.
Okay, so we didn't get any tipping from the pigeons, so we're gonna move on to hawks. Now, not only are we gonna get the extra weight, but also the momentum of the hawk's landing. I still don't think it's gonna be quite enough to tip the car. You guys ready for the birds?
It's time to let the hawks go.
All right, hawk number 1, ready to deploy.
Murray lands in a hurry, but there's no wobble to their wheels.
That didn't send us over the edge.
All right.
All right, bring out another hawk.
Doubling the mass to almost 5 pounds does seem to make a difference,
I can see the hood kind of bobbling there.
but it is still not enough.
All right, that's 2 hawks at the end of the car, and we have not gone over the edge.
You're not going over.
We did not fall over.
And when 2 hawks fail,
You got some work to do. Are you ready?
it's time to bring in the big guns, the giant eagle owl.
You know, in many cultures, the owl is the harbinger of death.
Thanks a lot.
death?
Hey, thanks for the encouragement, Jim.
And with those wise words, it's go time.
All right, let's see if this owl will send us over the cliff.
He's big. He's really big.
We survived.
We did!
He's at the edge of the car, and we did not go over the cliff.
Yep, once again, the car's balance is unaffected, even with this 7-pounder right at the front of the hood.
Well, if the owl's not gonna do it, I don't know what is.
Grant, for one, is not that surprised.
Okay, so why don't I think this works? Well, imagine that you're at a playground and you have a perfect seesaw. Theoretically, if you have a mass, which is the bird, landing far enough away from the pivot, it should be able to move the seesaw no problem. The only problem here is that this seesaw weighs 3,000 pounds and it's on a metal pivot. And the bird isn't heavy enough and it's not landing with enough force to cause it to move.
In other words, it's going to take an even bigger bird to tip this car. And for that, it's back to the shop.
Did you hear that?
That's a call of the wild.
Caw-caw! Caw-caw!
Adam and Jamie's wrecking balls are ready.
Let's move them out.
All right.
Now they just need to be strung up into the world's largest Newton's Cradle.
This is our location. It's a dry dock in Vallejo, California, and we've used it a number of times before for experiments. Check this out.
I don't mind saying I'm hyperventilating.
So why this location? Well, for the wrecking ball scale version of the Newton's Cradle, we need to be able to suspend the balls at quite a height. Now, we could do it on top of a large building, or we could do it by suspending them over a big hole, like this one.
As well as the big hole, the dry dock also comes complete with its own cranes. But unlike the video, the guys won't be swinging their balls from them.
Now, in the clip, our wrecking ball Newton Cradle is actually suspended from 5 adjacent tower cranes next to each other. There's 2 problems with this picture. One is they don't use tower cranes to swing wrecking balls. And 2, we were never ever going to find 5 tower cranes that we could park right next to each other. So, this I-beam and 4 others quite similar to it are going to be a figure-8 structure which we are going to hang our wrecking ball Newton Cradle from. Just about to weld it in place. That's it.
That was fast.
Let's get it in the air.
Yeah.
With the frame secured so that it juts out over the dry dock, the guys then need to attach their wrecking balls to it.
I'm gonna go over here.
Which, given their combined weight of over 5 tons,
Aren't they pretty?
is something which is easier said than done.
Given that each of these balls weighs about a ton, it's going to be quite a process to hoist them and maneuver them into place. So I'm going to be on the ground with the forklift, and I'm carefully going to cradle them and pick them up and put them in place.
Okay. How's it look up there?
Looks beautiful.
While Adam is overhead on a boom lift, arranging the slings and the cables. And we'll carefully scooch them all in so they precisely fit, because if this thing's going to work, that's the way it's going to have to be.
All right, let's give that a shot.
I don't know. I'm getting the impression we need maybe another ½ inch.
Copy that, no problem.
Making sure that the central steel plates line up perfectly is what may make or break this myth.
You know, they're all kind of dropping a little bit because of the additional weight to the cable overhead.
So getting that spot on is crucial.
I think it's good.
It looks perfect.
And once that's sorted, the guys get on with the finishing touches.
Does that add something to them?
Totally.
Yeah, it makes them pop a little bit, huh?
But some viewers may be wondering why there's not 2 strings attached.
Why, oh why, you might be asking, are we hanging these wrecking balls from single cables when every Newton cradle we've thus far built in this episode hangs from 2 cables in a V formation? That's because this is the arrangement that we see in the clip. We are testing the circumstances of the clip first, and only if that doesn't work do we go to 2 cables.
With the string theory sorted, everything's finally ready for a test.
Now, in order for us to call this a bona fide Newton cradle, I think we need to see 2 things. One, of course, that when ball 1 hits ball 2, we see ball 5 go up. And I pretty much expect that we're gonna see that. But the second part, the part that makes me nervous, is that ball 5 needs to come back down, hit ball 4, and send ball 1 back up. We need to see not only a tick-tick, but a tick-tick-tick-tick-tick for this to be a real Newton cradle.
Remember, the internal steel plates, theoretically capable of transferring the energy of the swing, should give this myth a helping hand. Consequently, expectations are high.
We're ready to go. All right, you ready?
I've been waiting for this, you
I
know?
know, me too. The world's largest Newton cradle. Test number 1 and 3, 2, 1.
Oh.
Oh. Oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. We had a little rig settling there.
Yeah, it wasn't very exciting, though.
No, it wasn't. It was one hit. A one-hit wonder.
A one-hit wonder indeed, and not a good one at that. But all is not lost.
I don't need this high-speed camera to tell me that that one was, shall we say, lackluster. Where did the energy go? The middle of every one of these balls is a big hardened steel plate. Well, some of the energy was absorbed by the balls, but some of it was absorbed by our framework actually moving. The amount of force from ball 1 hitting ball 2 moved our entire multi-thousand-pound framework. So we've secured it, and we're gonna go again.
With the framework secured to within an inch of its life, it's onwards and upwards, because this time,
I think that's good.
they're pulling ball 1 back as high as it will go to try to maximize the energy of the swing.
Single string, maximum pullback in 3, 2, 1. That was a hell of a hit.
That was a hell of a hit and a very sad, sad story.
They're all just sort of swinging together. That's kind of a letdown.
That is a real letdown.
Yep, despite ball 1 hitting ball 2 with an impact in excess of 150,000 psi, there's still no ka-ching to the swing.
Hear that? That is the sound of failure. This thing is so awesome. I wish you could see it. Unfortunately, all we've got to show for it is some swinging shiny balls. They're not tick-tick-ticking like the Newton cradle of our dreams. Sorry.
No need to be sorry, Adam, because this myth's grand finale is still to come. A pigeon cannot cause a precariously balanced car to tip over the edge, but could a much, much bigger bird.
All right, despite what they say about working with animals, those birds were really cooperative. But since we don't have access to any bigger flying birds, I think we need to come up with another plan.
Yeah, and it's starting to get a little dangerous for these birds. What if we went with a model helicopter? We get one that's the same weight as the biggest flying bird and have it land on the front of the car.
That's a great idea. Not only can we match the mass of the bird, but we also get the downforce from the rotors, just like the bird flapping its wings.
Awesome.
Weighing over 20 pounds, the California Condor is majestic, a far cry from the MythBusters helicopter stand-in. But while it won't win any prizes for elegance, What's key is that the Condor copter weighs the same as the real deal.
So I slightly altered an RC helicopter to emulate the heaviest flying bird in North America. It should not only be the same weight, but also it should represent its flight path when it lands on top of the car.
And that flight path's something that's been studied by Grant.
Now, I found something very interesting about the way large birds land. Check out this video of our giant owl. See how he swoops down right before he lands? He rears up and then lands very softly. He's minimizing his landing speed, minimizing that momentum that he imparts on the target zone, and that's exactly what we're gonna want our helicopter to do on the hood of the car.
So now that we've moved on to the helicopter, this thing weighs more than 3 times as much as our biggest bird, the eagle owl. I have a feeling that extra weight, Grant and I might be going for a ride.
Well, with the boys all buckled up,
All right, time to go to work.
and expert pilot Wolf Witt chomping at the bit, it's time for this myth to lift off.
That bird is just trying to psych us out right now.
I know, here it comes.
The very precise landing route that the heli must adhere to is making life very difficult for pilot Wolf.
Get away, you stupid condor.
And when the wind kicks up, things get harder still.
Oh, he's playing games with us.
But eventually,
Eagle has landed.
He did it! He did it, and we didn't go over! Woo! We survived!
Still there! 20 pounds, just like the Condor, the biggest flying bird in North America, still didn't tip the car.
so to get that elusive drop-off, the team's finishing up with some poultry in motion.
We want to see birdwise what it takes to get that car to tip off the cliff. So I spent all morning training 80 of my best hens to land gently on the hood of that car. They're going to single file line up at the front and work their way back until it finally goes off. Okay, you guys ready?
Are we ready?
No laughing.
Each hen weighs 1.5 pounds.
They just sit and play dead. It's incredible.
So by keeping tally of the number on the hood,
How many you got on there?
5.
So that's,
Bird down.
the guys will know how much weight it would take
22.
I'm starting to get a little nervous.
to unbalance the car.
60. Can you believe this? 60 game hens.
that's 90 pounds, man.
90 pounds, and still we are hanging on to the cliff.
Yet incredibly, even with all 80 hens on there,
That's like a small person standing on the hood.
the car still doesn't go.
I know, this is getting stupid.
That's totally stupid.
But Tori came prepared for this eventuality.
I don't like it.
Oh my God, that's crazy!
And brought a 20-pound robotic turkey, which dances and jigs until
Oh! Oh my God, that was crazy!
I wish you could see the trail of bird destruction behind you. You have to make that stop. It's so creepy.
All right, it is not looking good for this myth.
I know that movie version where a tiny little bird just kind of dink, lands at the end and the whole thing goes. Looking a little busted to me.
The good news is we got birds to get the car to go off the cliff. The bad news is it took over 80 birds, 140 pounds to be exact. And the only way that would happen is if a pterodactyl were to land on the front of your car. And we all know that that's not gonna happen.
And what that means is this myth is busted.
At least now we know why the chicken crossed the road. To get out of the way of the falling car!
The MythBusters' giant Newton's Cradle started with a song.
5 homemade wrecking balls, 1 huge steel frame, huge empty dry dock, and a wrecking ball Newton cradle.
But ended with a dong.
That was a hell of a hit.
And a very sad, sad story.
But there may be light at the end of the tunnel.
So check this out. Even though this is hardened steel, the areas where the balls are impacting have become flattened from the impacts. And it's not just here, it's throughout all of the balls, which means that they're all kind of squashing like hamburger patties. The amount of force here is something on the order of 500,000 times as much as what's happening with those little balls on the desktop toy. So clearly, lack of energy is not our problem.
Which means the problem may be the single cable system causing the balls to lose focus.
That's kind of a letdown.
So, having restrung the balls with an extra cable, things are looking up.
So with some preliminary playing with the 5 wrecking balls on the 2 lines, Jamie and I are actually seeing somewhat of a radical improvement in their behavior.
Oh. That's a little more positive.
We're actually not just seeing a tick and then a boom. We're actually seeing a tick, tick, which it makes me cautiously optimistic about this next test.
So why would 2 strings per ball work better than a single string? Well, the Newton's Cradle is all about efficient energy transfer. So if any one of these balls is a little out of line, that's going to mess up the efficiency. The 2 strings will help keep these all lined up perfectly, and hopefully that'll improve what we're seeing from this device.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Wrecking ball size Newton Cradle V formation cabling in 3, 2, 1. Go, baby! Yes! 1, 2.
3-ish. 4.
It's another disappointing result, but at least there was some improvement.
That was a little bit better. While our single string gave us a 30% throwout on ball 5, our double string version gave us a 45% throwout on the same ball. Now, that's nowhere near the desktop version, which gave us 98%, and it's nothing like the clip.
But before this balls up gets concluded, there's one last thing to try. Ball 1 pulled back to the max.
2 strings, max pullback, in 3, 2, 1.
It really is now or never, and it's never.
That went quite a ways.
And now it's all done.
So cue one of the MythBusters mottos. Failure is always an option.
There goes one of our cameras.
As far as we're aware, this is the largest Newton's Cradle that's ever been built. And it is a Newton's Cradle because it's demonstrating exactly the same physical properties that the small one does. But as we get larger and larger, it becomes harder and harder to rein in the physical losses of energy in the system, from the balls to the cables to the overhead structure. While it is a Newton's Cradle, it's just never going to be as perfect as the little ones are. So where do we stand?
We set out to replicate what we saw in that clip, and nobody can say that we didn't give a wrecking ball-sized Newton Cradle the best possible chance of succeeding.
But it didn't look anything like the clip.
Now, this one is totally busted.
Yeah, it's busted.
And it's busted not just because their best-case scenario balls failed to fire, but also because the viral video was nothing but CGI.
Hey, you know, we ought to start our own demolition company. We got wrecking balls, we got explosives.
Absolutely.
Whatever you want.